Hi friends, host Eric here, host of Talking with Famous People, and I am responding to Mega Bros' comment, your stubborn interpretation of the functions does not agree with Jung Socionics. My point is, I know. My point is, I fixed what was wrong with those things. I know it's kind of a bold claim, but it's true. My explanation makes more sense. What do I mean by I fixed what was wrong with them? The fundamental distinction is between meaning and experience. One must begin with that to have a correct understanding of cognitive functions. The next thing one must understand and acknowledge is that everything we say about cognitive functions, everything we say about cognition in general, and everything we say at all is subject to the laws of statements. So we talk in TI, okay, when we're talking about cognitive stuff. When we say that one person is right or wrong, when we say that something is true or not true, when we say something is consistent or inconsistent or valid or invalid, we are using TI. We are talking about statements that have truth values. Only statements have truth values. The only things that have truth values are statements. We have to remember that first and foremost. So when we're talking about which statements are true, we're using TI. TI is the mechanism of most communication that we do that is not expressive of emotions. So understand that when we're talking about TE, we're using TI. However, we are displaying perhaps some TE values. My goal here is to be convincing that I'm correct about the TI aspects of this, the definitional aspects. What is TI? It's a definitional function. It defines things as set and then makes meaning accordingly. It is based in two qualities, distinction and grammar. So TI is comprised of that which is distinct from something else and grammatical meaning. So we have statement connectives, for example. If I say Tom and Bob went to the store, it's only true if both Tom went to the store and Bob went to the store. It's not true if only one of them went to the store. That's implicit in the grammar of English. It's implicit in the statement connective and. So when we're talking about truth at all, when we're saying one interpretation is correct or one interpretation is incorrect, we're talking about consistency with other things about which we agree. That's how we determine whether something is TI true or TI false, TI valid, TI invalid. Okay? And again, remember, anytime we're talking about things that aren't just expressions of emotions, when we're conveying things that aren't expressions of emotions, we're using TI. When we're talking about FE, for example, we're using TI. Note the distinction, though, of how useless TI is when we're talking about FI or TE. Because really, we can talk about TE, it's good at describing it, it's good at helping us to understand what it is, but it's not something that but it's still always a symbolic approximation of it. Why? Because TE and FI are determinate in the causal realm. That is to say, shit happens and it happens, okay? So when it doesn't matter then whether it's true or false. It doesn't have those qualities. Remember, the only things that have qualities of true or false are statements. So, of course, TE is subjective. It's not subject to truth value. Of course, FI is subjective. It's not subject to truth value. So, this is where Jung and Socionics, they didn't get this notion because they didn't understand that they were subject to the laws of statements, namely that it's TI they're working with to explain everything else. Okay, so why is FE objective then, you might say? Isn't it just managing perception, stuff like that? Well, sure it is, but if the reason it's objective is because it's subject to argumentation and subject to agreement or judgment, like amongst others. Its its statements are held up as objectively true or false. That comedian did a great job last night, or that comedian failed last night, is going to be something that is determinable by how the audience reacted. It's not determinable by the the comedian himself might say, well, I did better than last time, so I feel good about it. That's a TEFI thing, right? There's my goal. My goal was this, and it's subjective. And I achieved my goal, so I feel good about it. But what the newspaper is going to say, and what everybody else is going to agree, is that that individual failed on the objective FE grounds, that he didn't achieve positive FE outcomes in terms of managing perceptions or making other people happy or whatever. So when we're talking about this metaphysical physical distinction, then, and when I'm saying it fixes what's wrong with Jung and Socionics, it puts the cart correctly behind the horse. We are dealing with a taxonomy that is a definitional web that distinguishes this from that and that from this in order to allow us to recognize related axes and how they necessitate a person's display or behave or respond in certain ways and not other ways habitually, and how this then therefore represents type. The other key distinction that I make between what's established as normally understood as cognitive function models and what I call TwFP tax is that the perceiving functions are twofold: action and epistemological functions. That SE is to take action in a following through on that which has already been decided kind of way, or on a that which NI dictates in the moment kind of way. So if it's that which has already been decided, then that's going to be SI. That's the ignoring function for an SE DOM. It means they're going to ignore the epistemological basis upon which they choose to act, because they take it as a default that epistemological basis is always there, SI. The problem for SE DOMs, of course, is then they're NI seeking. They need to know whether the epistemological basis that they assume meets the metaphysical epistemology of NI, the right, just, true, and good aspect of things. In other words, does it meet NI's inherent aesthetics kind of fitness test? It may meet the having been decided by you test, because SI, the physical epistemology, is a personal epistemology in a way that NI, the metaphysical epistemology, is not. Because, again, the fundamental distinction between metaphysical and physical. Metaphysical being an approximation of a physical reality that is both impactful of and impacted by metaphysical reality that coordinates along with it. So everybody's in both spaces concurrently, and each of the functions is fundamentally a way of managing a translation between the physical and metaphysical realities, one direction or the other. Because I'm NE and an extrovert intuition dominant, I take metaphysical action by nature, and I'm an NE, I'm a metaphysical aspect dominant of NE, which means I take metaphysical action on metaphysical objects. Taylor, in contrast, prefers the physical aspect of NE, which means he prefers to take metaphysical action on physical objects. In other words, I want to combine these three things together to make a blah. That's physical NE. The thing about it is, it is primarily a means of impacting the metaphysical world, and as a consequence, it's much more normal for ENTPs to ideate in this fashion than it is for them to play in the physical world. I believe to be the case. Anyway, the other thing to note is, since you have the two metrics, obviously they have to coordinate with each other. One provides the currency, one provides the evaluatory processes. So for me, FE provides the currency and TI provides the evaluatory processes. For Kimberly, it's the opposite. And these things coordinate with our respective 1-4s, namely, she's got epistemology first and and action seeks metaphysical action and consequence. She's got physical epistemology first, so she seeks metaphysical action. I've got metaphysical action first, so I seek physical epistemology, and it all fits together perfectly. Anyway, do I disagree with Jung and socionics in certain areas? Yeah, and I'm right.